performances. So that was when I used to work with this other guy, and we went to New Zealand, to Wellington Fringe, and we were doing street shows, and then we found this very nice theatre. It was only as I've become more experienced have I realised how great they were. It was Bats Theatre in Wellington. They even lent us money. Like, nobody else has ever. It was like, oh, you can't afford. Well, okay, well, we'll pay for that. And it was like, it wasn't until I found out how it all worked that I found out that was unusual. And we ended up, 10 o'clock every night. We wrote the show during these 10 days. Day 2, nobody showed. One person showed up, and we were like, look, we can't do a show to one person. And then she came back, and it turned out she actually at that point was running the comedy festival, and was a great publicist. So for following years, she publicized. She was very lucky in all these ways, and that kind of opened the door for the idea that theatre can just be a case of doing a show people like in a very simple setting. And we were talking about yesterday that very basic, because as a street performer, that was it. I do something you like, you give me money. Great, we're done. I don't then have to educate you. I don't have to bring you down, which is, I don't know much about theatre, but that seems to be, whenever I've seen theatre, I'm like, oh, you're killing a baby. Great. That's something for me to think about. Thanks a lot. So it opened up this idea that theatre can be that. So that's kind of like, I've come to theatre via the Fringe, not the other way around.
Yeah, interesting. That's really cool.
Just use that last bit.
All right.
Do you want me to say the whole thing again, but shorter?
No, it's okay.
I totally can.
I'm sure you can. It's okay. How would you describe the Fringe to someone who hasn't seen it or is new to it? I mean,
see there, that's such a tough thing, because I think one of the dangers of the Fringe is that not only do a lot of people not know what it is, but worse than that, they think they know what it is.
Oh, really?
So I remember being in Toronto. It was a very interesting thing for me. And in a bar that's right by the Fringe site. And some guys like, Fringe is on. I overheard these two like older guys. Fringe is on. What's that? I think it's naked people. And it was like, oh. So, people see like Will and Grace and, Jack does these one-man shows. Mm-hmm. And anytime they go to the theatre in TV, they're like, it's horrible. Yeah. And it's always a terrible thing. And then, like, I'm trying to think of other examples, like Pretty Woman. It's like, you can learn to love it, but you didn't. It was like, but that's opera. And I don't know. And again, this notion of that. So, how would I describe Fringe to someone who didn't know what it was? I probably wouldn't. To be honest with you, I just wouldn't.
Really?
I'd be like, I don't know. I often I'm quite lucky, I think, because what I do is theatre people don't mind, so they often bring friends. So I quite often get feedback of like, oh, he'd never been to the theatre before and he loved it. And that's great. Like, so Fringe is more like, for me, it's interesting because I think a lot of people go and they think Fringe theatre, it's really out there. And for me, what makes it out there is it is in Fringe. One of the things that happens during the Fringe, especially the Canadian Fringe circuit, is you have this evolution of theatre that people really enjoy, and this notion that which is a crazy notion, like that you don't need to know anything first to enjoy it. And this is like, coming from my point of view, was always, I'd go to theatre and I'd be like, no, I'm just not enjoying this. I must be stupid. There's so much I don't know. And I think a lot of theatre has that habit of relying on you needing to know things. And you see it. You see a lot of like, oh no, we don't say that. We don't say good luck. We say break a leg. And it's like, and people often do that to me. They're like, good luck. Oh no, I'm not first. And they're terrified of getting it wrong. And I'm like, I genuinely do things where I might break a leg. So I'd rather you say good luck. And it feels like a lot of theatre is this kind of weird elitist thing, whereas Fringe just, for me, isn't. But having said that, it's kind of anything. Like, it's such a... Which is, as you can see, I have now demonstrated why I would not try to describe Fringe to someone. What I find interesting is I do comedy. Like, I only do comedy. And that's, as a producer, which, is also what I am, I do what I enjoy and, how I'm going to make my living, what people like. To be honest, I've never had a particular drive to do a depressing show. One day, but I would only be doing it to show that I could. And I'm quite aware that, and I'm sure some people do come to the show and go like, that was really horrible and depressing and I wasted my money. Because you can't please everyone. But I had a point. I forgot what it was. It was so clever, so funny and clever, and it made it all just. Oh, yeah. So now, yeah, I do. It's interesting because I do comedy, and so there've been in a few fringes where you get these angry people who've been around for a long time, and they're like, "Oh, the stand-ups are taking over. The comedy's taking over," and yet, like, I do comedy festivals and I do stand-up, but you know, none of my shows fit anywhere else. Like, they're exactly what they are, and it's always been that way. Like, you would only see what I do in the fringe, you know, and I do other things, and every now and then I'm on TV, and you're like, and I'm sure people wouldn't even notice me, or you know, whatever. But it's only this kind of small scale. It's what I find funny, and hopefully it overlaps with what you find funny, and we have a great time. And it's as simple as that. And because it's so cheap, it's free.
Yeah.
It's because it's cheap. It's freeing, liberal. I'm trying to say free without implying
Liberating?
it doesn't cost anything. So it's liberating. So you can do whatever you want. So you kind of find things, as opposed to like things that cost a lot more money. Have a lot more people going, no, we can't do that. No, we can't do that. No, never gonna happen. Like, and anything that involves more people will have more people to say no, don't do that. Very, you know, which is why, you know, everyone talks about, you know, movies by committee and stuff, being what they are, which can be good, can be bad. But yeah. In conclusion, what is art? Is to be.
So this summer is busy.
Okay.
You're all over the place. Where can people go to find out more about your shows?
Oh.
Festival website? Do you have a website?
I have a website, chrisgibbs.ca. I'm a proud Canadian.
Really?
.com was taken by a British guy.
That's weird.
A photographer based in Alaska who does, I'm pretty sure does all my gigs.
Really?
They must be going somewhere. But I have a website and I've just done it up. I've just redone it. So
really?
There's lots of links that don't work.
Oh, nice.
Like one to Montreal Fringe just doesn't take you anywhere.
Nice. That's very cool. And after the fringes are all done, what's up next for Chris?
I don't know. This year I'm not writing a new show. And a few opportunities came by last year or earlier this year where people were like, are you interested in writing for TV? Are you interested in this? Right now I'm sort of working on an adaptation of Antoine Faval for radio. And it's sort of my plan that the next time somebody says, you're interested in writing for TV, I have the things that you're supposed to have when you say yes, as opposed to, yeah, but I don't have any writing samples. You know, and I have, as time goes on, I have ideas for things, so I just need to be less lazy. But, you know, I don't know, next up, I mean, we're working with the improv show that I'm doing in Toronto is a quite exciting sort of thing, coming back from doing just one-man stuff to working with other people and seeing what else it can happen. I'm working with, it's the National Theatre of the World, and they also do a show called Impromptu Splendor, which is they improvise a whole play based on a playwright's style. And they're sort of becoming this sort of big deal in this sort of bridge between improv and theatre. And then there's the show they did with me, which is just stupid and nice, so it's kind of fun.
Cool.
In conclusion, art is theatre, is dance.
That was great.
So do you want to do the whole thing?